Okay, 6.5, we're moving into percent increase and decrease. So you have a few vocab words here to talk about. First one is percent of change. So when we're talking about percent of change, it's just the percent the quantity changes from the original amount. Okay, so I'm taking a number that I'm starting with, and the percent of change is the percent that it either increases or decreases from that amount. So to figure out percent of change, we take the amount of change and then divide it by the original number. We'll do some examples of these. Second one is percent of increase. This is pretty self-explanatory. It's just when the original number increases. So to figure out our percent of increase, we're going to take the new number minus the original number minus where we started divided by the original number. Okay, so we take the new number, we increased, so we're going to take our new number minus the original number and then divide that whole thing by the original number. Okay, and then something to note when we're doing percent of increase, when I do this division, it's going to give me a decimal, but it's talking about percent of increase, so I'm going to need to change that decimal into a percent. And we'll do examples, so you'll see. Next one is percent decrease. This one's also pretty obvious. It's when the original number decreases. Okay, and then in this example, percent of decrease, I take the original number minus the new number divided by my original number again. Here's maybe another way of remembering what's happening here is in both of these, what I'm doing is I'm taking the bigger number minus the smaller number divided by the original, wherever you started. So in both cases, in both percent increase and percent decrease, you're taking the bigger number minus the smaller number and then dividing it by where you started. Okay? Then we also have percent of error. So percent of error is the percent, an estimate or a guess differs from the actual amount. So in order to figure out percent of error, we take the amount of error and then we divide that by the actual number. We'll do examples of all of these, so all of this will make sense. Okay, so then if we look at this first example, percent of increase, table shows the number of hours you spent online last weekend. What's the percent of change in your online time from Saturday to Sunday? So we're going from 2 to 4.5, which we can see is a positive increase. So I'm taking my new number minus the original number divided by my original number. So here's what that looks like. I'm taking 4.5 minus 2 divided by 2. Will give me 2.5 divided by 2. When I do that, I'm going to get an answer of 1.25. Am I done with this? The answer is no. I have to look at the question. The question is, what is the percent of change? Is 1.25 in form of a percent? It's not, right? So what we need to do is take our 1.25, and in order to make a decimal percent, right, we move the decimal place over 2 spots. So that means that our answer should actually be a 125%. This is an increase. We need to make sure that we are acknowledging whether it's a percent increase or decrease, because that matters here, right? So it's a 125% increase from where we started. All right, let's go to the next page. So if we look at this one, we want to find the percent of change. We're going from 10 to 25 inches. So I'm taking the bigger number, 25, minus the smaller number, 10, divided by where I started, which was 10. So I'm going to have 15 divided by 10. Well, 15 divided by 10 is 1.5. Am I done? No, I'm not. Need to make that a percent. So that's going to be 150%. This is increasing. Go ahead and do the next one on your own, and then you can check your answer back with me when you're done. Okay, you should have gotten then a 14% increase for number 2. So that's all percent increase. Let's look at percent decrease. The bar graph shows the softball players' home run totals. What was the percent change from 2012 to 2013? So I'm looking at 2012 and 2013. So I start at 28 and I decrease down to 20. So I'm going to take my bigger number minus my smaller number, 28 minus 20, divide by where I started, which was 28. 28 minus 20 is just 8, so I have 8 over 28, which is going to give me about 0.286. But I'm not done, right? This is a decimal, I need it as a percent, so this is going to be a 28.6% decrease. We're going from 28 down to 20, it's decreasing, so that's going to be a 28.6% decrease. Let's look at the next example. Up here. Okay, find the percent of change from eating 20 cookies to eating 12 cookies. Again, I'm taking my bigger number minus my smaller number, 20 minus 12, divided by where I started, which was 20. 20 minus 12 is 8, so I'm going to do 8 divided by 20. 8 divided by 20 is going to give me 0.4, but I know I'm not done yet because it's not in a percent, and I'm looking for a percent. So this becomes a 40% decrease. Okay, that's percent increase and percent decrease. Now we're going to look at percent error. So you estimate that the length of your classroom is 16 feet. The actual length is 21 feet. Find the percent error. So in this case, percent error, what we do is we take the amount of error, how much am I off by, and then divide it by the actual amount. So if I look at this one, I thought it was 16 feet. It's actually 21 feet. I want to know how far apart those two numbers are. So in order to do that, I need to subtract them. So I'm going to take 21 minus 16. That's going to be my amount of error. And then divide it by the actual length. And that tells me that the actual length is 21 feet. So divided by 21. 21 minus 16, it's going to give me 5 over 21, which is going to be about 0.238. Okay, but I want the percent error, so it's going to be 23.8% error. Okay, this one we're not talking about increase or decrease because your amount isn't changing, right? I'm just talking about how far off was I? Well, I was 23.8% away from the actual number. That's all that this is asking. So go ahead and try this last one then on your own, and then come back and check your answer with me. Okay, so what you should have done is taken the 135 that you estimated minus 108, which was your actual text messages, divided by 108 should have given you a 25% error. Okay, here's what I want to do now. So on the actual note sheet that you have on the back page, there's a puzzle time. We went over these first couple a little while ago, but I'm going to go over them with you again just to kind of refresh your memory. So mine doesn't show up here for some reason, so we're just going to have to do it like this. So the number 1 says, make this a little smaller. Okay. Number 1 says that we have 42 customers increased by 50%. So here's how I think the easiest way to do this is, right? So I know that I'm starting with 42. 42 customers is my original amount. It's the initial amount that I have. I'm increasing, which means that I'm going to add to it. It's going to get bigger. And it's increasing by 50%. So my next step then is to figure out, well, what is 50% of 42? Well, 50% I know is half, right? So if I'm asking what's half of 42, well, 42 divided by 2 is going to give me 21. So 42 plus 21 is 63. So 42 customers increased by 50% is going to bring me to 63. In your puzzle time then, it's going to be the letter Y. Okay? So then, if we look at number 2 also, we're going to do a percent increase and a percent decrease. I have 70 pennies decreased by 20%. I'm going to use the same steps that I did before. So I have 70 pennies, that's my initial value. Now I'm decreasing, which means that I'm going to subtract from 70. And so I need to know what is 20% of 70. So here's where I could use proportions. So 70 is my whole, right? What I want is the part. So part to whole is going to be 20 out of 100, right? So then I would take 70 times 20, which would be 140, equals 100 x. Oh, it's going to be 1400. That's where my problem is. 1400. There we go. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 100. And so that'll give me x equals 14. So 14 is 20% of 70. So I'm going to take 70 minus 14. That is going to give me 56. Or on your puzzle time, it would be, letter E. Okay, so go ahead and finish the rest of that on your own for your own practice, and that is all for 6.5.